Marchese, founder of Positive Discipline UK, and I'm so thrilled to introduce our guest today and my good friend, Mary Nelsen Tamborski. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We haven't seen each other in a while, so this is really a treat. I'm going to give a brief introduction of Mary, and then we'll get into things. So Mary is first and foremost a wife and a mother of 3 amazing boys. She's also a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's a positive discipline trainer. She is the co-author of the Positive Discipline Parenting Tools book and the Keeping the Joy in Relationships tool cards and ebook. And she's a really popular, well-known keynote speaker. So she's got a lot of experience, and I'm so excited she's here to share with us tonight. And we always talk about positive discipline being a philosophy that you can apply in all of your relationships, in all areas of your life, as a parent, with your children, with your colleagues, with your students, with your family members, and of course with your partner. And those of you that have heard me speak before, you know that I've shared that I really feel confident in the classroom applying the philosophy and the tools with students and with my own daughter at home. But where I falter the most is really in my relationship with my husband, Max. And so even though I have taken a class training with Mary and with her mother, I'm here to learn with the rest of you again and be reminded of, what can really help us to not just survive, but really thrive during this time, and maybe use it as a time to really reset our relationships. So Mary, before we kind of get into the tools and whatnot, I would love to, you're still working a lot. Actually, you kind of have a wait list with all of your clients. And so I'd love to hear from you. What's the feedback that you're getting from your clients? A lot of them are probably, they're spending 24/7 with their families. And for some people, this is like the most time they have spent at one time ever in their relationship, right? I mean, 24/7. And many couples and families, they're trying to work from home, some people in small quarters, and, homeschool the kids or deal with the distance learning and childcare, even if their kids aren't in school. So what are you finding? What are some of the challenges that are coming up?
Well, let's start, rewind 4 weeks ago when we all first got the news. I think that we all kind of were in that state of shock for the first week and kind of in survival mode of adjusting our schedules, our routines. And, I think the biggest piece that I realized a week later was not having the opportunity to refill my bucket or, my energy tank, if you will. So part of being a good mother and part of being a good wife and therapist is being able to do the things that fuel you and that energize you so that you can then, spill that over into your relationships at home. And I found that when I wasn't having that time, it was, there was more of this irritation or more of this just kind of like, I think we all felt it, that unfamiliar, just like I found myself wandering, but I also found myself just going and sitting with my husband, sitting in the office, while he was, and he's like looking over of like, do you want to talk? I was like, just chilling. What are you doing? Just want to hang out. And so I found those out, moments to be more oftener when he would be in the kitchen. He loves to cook. Thank goodness, because I love to clean. So, he would be in the kitchen and I just started gravitating more toward him because we're not hustling so much. So as much as we're missing the routine and the structure and, all of that, go, I really found that I was gravitating more toward, our children. Obviously, I've had wonderful connection time with them, and then more time with my husband. And I was remembering what it was like before kids, because the kids are either online learning or video gaming, whatever it is. We have a moment to just sit and be and not, hustle for the next thing on the calendar. So we had more time of that just connection and talking about random stuff, and then finding things to do together during this time. That's when you already feel, just completely uplifted from everything that's, normal and routine and it feels good, you have to find that new routine and new things that feel good. So we were able to find time to just work out together. And we were both kind of laughing at it. We both love to go to the gym. And so to take, Sean T's Beach Body, where he's like yelling at you with insanity, but we're laughing and we're connecting and we're high-fiving and, but anyways, that's more of the good. I'll start with the positive. The challenges could be that I think the number one trap for most couples is we expect the other person to read our mind. So my husband and I have been together we've been together 23 years. We're going to be celebrating our 18th wedding anniversary in August. And he still can't read my mind. It's like, I can give him all like
by now be able to do that. Yeah.
It's like, why are you not sensing what I'm thinking? Do I have to spell it out? Well, guess what, ladies? Yes, and men. Because men and women, we think so differently, and our personalities are so different, and then we're dealing with all of our own emotional stuff, and trying to have that other person read your mind and all your clues is just a setup. So really having communication and being clear. And my husband has told me, Mary, spell it out. Yeah. Like it's not offensive. What's worse is when you expect me to, read your mind and figure it out, and then you get mad at me when I don't. Yeah. And then you say all the things that I should have said and done, like I'm supposed to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same trap we all fall into, right? It's this, the difference in the brain, really, the female and the male brain also. So I love that you mentioned the self-care piece and having that time to kind of be your space, your time, which that's one thing that I definitely struggled with. And that's something that I had to communicate with Max, and that he had to communicate with me, that we both had to make sure that we were able to give each other that time and that space, whether it's me just walking the dog by myself, him cycling, by himself, and having that self-care piece is really important.
Can I add something to that real quick that's really important? So again, with the expectation, that's another, tool that we have, and expecting the other person to, think and do the same that you maybe would think and do. But what I found with even setting up that time is giving an expectation of saying, when would be a good time, or asking the question, and this is what I would like to do. When would be good for you? Yeah. So that it's not, you're not, going in there at noon and saying, okay, I have a Zoom call at 12:30. I need it completely silent from 12:30 to 1:30. He's like, wait a minute, I have a Zoom call at 12:30. Why aren't we communicating this? Well, we need to really kind of sit down and say, okay, these are the things I have, and then to kind of give them, some time to plan and prepare for that, mentally and physically.
And, that brings us, that's so important, because that came up the very first week. With Max and I, we sat down, we did a couples meeting, and we talked about what our new routine would be. And we had a routine for our work and kind of a routine as a family. And, we thought we were really kind of proud of ourselves that we came up with this really good routine. And within the first week, it just went to shit, Yep. And thank goodness at our next couples meeting, he said to me, listen, I need you. Because of course, what was I doing? I was kind of like throwing things in there that I hadn't remembered, right? And just like, oh, I have this call, or I have this meeting, or I have this, but I would do it to him last minute. And it really wasn't fair, and he said, listen, I can be flexible, but I can't be flexible in the last minute. And you need to really communicate with me when things are coming in advance, and not just throw things at me. And it was really, without having that check-in and that couples meeting and that communication, it probably would have built resentment and caused fights and all of that. So I would love to talk a little bit about couples meetings and, how you found them and how important they are and how helpful they can be.
Well, and it was adapted from the family meetings, which, as most people that know my mother's book and can read the stories, I was raised with family meetings. I then tailored it to using it with my roommates. We were all struggling in the beginning, and we needed tools. We had a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, so we were just focusing on solutions, and then kind of maybe even adapted it in my own way without knowing that I was going step by step. But it's just part of my language, as far as starting with compliments and appreciations, having an agenda item, which is usually a challenge. It's usually what kind of starts the meeting. Although I would discourage that and have something be more fun to kind of sell it, if you will. But what we found is that when you start just focusing on the solutions of the agenda, and then you go straight to the family fun or the special time, for the couple, it's not family, but it's, something that you would do that's 15 minutes, maybe an hour, even if it's just going to lunch, going for a walk, going kayaking. I say, take turns creating different events and time that you'll spend together. But let me back up a little bit. So it's 4 simple steps. It's again, it's the same template that we use for the format that we use for family meetings. It's starting with number 1, compliments and appreciations. And so each person gives and receives. And I like to go even more into the appreciation. That's my love language is words. And so I'll, say, I really want to appreciate you. And for, if you go even further into saying like having such amazing attitude and spirit in the last week, I've been feeding off that energy. I've noticed how fun you are with the boys and how your sense of humor is shining. So like really highlight rather than saying, thanks for being a really, awesome dad. Like I go even deeper as to why, I think it encourages them and they're like, oh, I didn't even know that you were thinking that. And so I can speak the language, throughout the day and the week, but for some of us, we might only get 1 appreciation or 1 compliment a week when we have this meeting. So to make it meaningful, and the principle behind that is starting with connection. So you're creating this connection, you both feel good, and then you say, okay, the agenda item is, managing Zoom times, like our scheduled meetings. So let's brainstorm all the different solutions and ideas. And what we do is, so then you write them down, and during that time, there's no discussion. So it's just any ideas. Even if you think that there's, not going to be reasonable or they're going to work, you just write it down. And then the third step is to problem solve through, or to go through the process of elimination with the 3 R's and an H, which is related, reasonable, respectful, and helpful. So you go through each solution or each, brainstorm, and you cross off all the ones that are not 3 R's and H. Then you circle the one that you can both agree on, and you try it for a week. And like you said, you might have to put it back on the agenda in a week or 2 because we're humans, we're not robots. We can't just plug in the program and the solution and then have it work forever. So you might have to tweak it. And you can use different tools in figuring it out. It might be more communication, it might be more connection, more time. And then the final step is just to have some special quality time together, something without the kids.
Yeah,
if that's possible these days. It might have to be early in the morning coffee or after they go to bed.
So, well, first of all, I didn't share in the introduction, but since you brought it up, I really want to share that those of you that heard a couple weeks ago, I had a live Q&A with Dr. Jane Nelsen, the creator of Positive Discipline. And I introduced Mary's full name, but I don't know if you all noticed, but her maiden name is Nelsen. So she's Jane Nelsen's daughter. And I don't like to introduce you as that because I feel like I want you to be your own person and not just known as Jane Nelsen's daughter. But I do think it's important because you are the youngest of 7. And you were really, thankfully, Jane she doesn't like to call herself an expert, but I think she's an expert. And you were, you were the one she probably got it the most right with because she had the most practice. So I think, it's really incredible knowing you as a person. I can see really how you've become the person that you have as a result. And going back to the family meeting, the couples meetings, we have tool cards. So if you need, you can look at them. Jane and Mary created these. Is it just the 2 of you that did these together? Mm-hmm. You and your mom?
Yeah. Now my niece Amber is helping us with the workbook and
which is so amazing.
Writing the book. Yeah.
And so what I love, I really want to go back to the beginning, the connection before correction and the appreciations and the compliments, because when my husband, and I don't know if you saw on the live feed, but my husband's on and he wrote, "I can't wait for you to do that, Joy," with a little smiley face. And he loves to call me out on it. And, I'm reminding him that I did give him an appreciation last night. And what I would love to share about the appreciations, when we started using these tool cards together, appreciations, and that's one of the tools here, was the one that I think we practiced the most consistently. It was kind of like the easiest, we did it every single day. We didn't just wait for couples meetings. We did it every day. We would send each other either a text or call or say it to each other's face, 3 appreciations for the day. And it really made a difference. And then we kind of like things were good and we let it go. And coming back to that is so important, because when we focus on the things that we appreciate, when we're looking for those things, we kind of reprogram our brains to scan the environment, right, for those positive things that they do, rather than looking for the things to complain about or nag about or get annoyed with, right? So it's almost reprogramming the brain as well, which I think is really important. And you start to look out, because even if you're just doing them during couples meetings, that, okay, I'm giving appreciations tomorrow. What did I notice? And you reflect on all the wonderful things. And I think it is important that you talked about making it as specific as possible. Really, I love it when, I give an appreciation to Max, or he gives one to me, and I go, "Oh, you noticed that?" It's like, wow, that it's so meaningful in that way.
If only we could get him to say it in the moment.
That's what we're all working on. That's what we're all working on. I used to practice that.
But I want to share something. First of all, I want to say that what you focus on does expand. So when you are looking for those appreciations, you will notice more than you could even have imagined when we first say, okay, start noticing the things that you appreciate. You're like, I could think of 5 off the top of my hand. Well, if you keep looking, you're going to find 50, because that's what you're looking for, right? But my husband and I, we were on a roll, same as you, notes, love notes, and my little 7-year-old Parker, we didn't realize the modeling that we were doing for him when he would see these notes. And so my husband would put one on my sink, I love you, have a great day. And then he would take it and he would move it over to Daddy's sink. And then he would move it. He's like, where else can we put it? And this, the same old sticky note with like no stick left to it. He was taping it on the coffee maker, and then he'd put it. So we're teaching our children how to do this too. And so then I'm looking at Parker, my, little man, as a husband someday that will be able to easily express affection, to his partner, and, see her smile the way he sees mom smile when dad does these little gestures. And then he starts, so he recently, his new job was being water boy when it comes to their little gaming. They prepare meals, they do all their must-dos, but Parker's is the water boy. He filled up all the waters, but he put little love notes on each one of his brother's water bottles. And it reminded me, because what we were doing this was like, 3 months ago, but he still remembered it and knew that it was like a sweet gesture. And it's the little things. It's, to see you smile, because then when you feel good, what do you want to do back? You can't even help it. It's just energy that kind of flows, over, to your partner, to your family. And I remember too, Dr. Phil, back in the day before DVR, when I had loved Oprah, never missed an episode, Dr. Phil would always walk hand in hand with his wife. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that show, but she walks him. I think she walks out with them, but stays at the back with the crowd. And at the end, she walks and they walk back, the crowd together. And she just, she's always just, and he said one time, he said, every day I wake up, because I was like, is this fake? Is this part of like the production? Is this part of his like, them selling his skill or his, his tools? And so he said, no, every single day I wake up and I say, what can I do to make my wife smile? And that is such a profound question. And the thing is it's like, I've heard some of my clients say, well, why is it always about her? What's she gonna do to make me smile? But if you just make this, if you just forget about her and what you're gonna get out of it, or forget about you and what you're gonna get out of it, and just think, what can I give? You're going to get something out of it. It's like, you don't want to do it for that, but her being happy and her being, noticed and appreciated is gonna that's also gonna be a gift to the kids. I heard someone say, I wish I could remember who it was. It was just recently. They said, if you really love your children's mother, do things that make her smile. Like if you really want to see your boys love, or your children love on their mother, and just see the best mother that that she is, make her smile. Like that's how you contribute to her motherhood. And no pressure, but it's just you can't help it.
It's amazing because, when we do workshops for keeping the joy in relationships, we have people that attend the workshops that are in relationships, people that are not in relationships, and the reason we have all different, people that are just got divorced or getting divorced is because what we know is that all of this, people don't come to the workshops to change their partner, or if they do, they end up changing their minds, because we know that it starts with us, right? And that what we do, if we are trying to be the best instead of trying to make our husband the best husband, if we can be the best wife, the best person, right? And we make the changes, it's inevitable that they will change, right? In the sense that they will respond to it. And I also,
the energy.
yeah, and I think it's so important when you said about the kids, you know, the greatest gift you can give your children is to really work on your relationship. So it's not selfish to make time for the relationship. It's actually a gift you're giving the kids when you're working on the relationship, you know, and I think that's a really important piece to the whole thing. And you mentioned, I love, we're trying to keep these sessions somewhat manageable because everyone's either so busy right now or so tired. You know, we'll have all the time in the world right now, but
right.
It's not busier now.
I feel it.
So I know, Mary, in speaking with you, that one of your favorite tools is little things. And I think and you've already mentioned little things. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the tool called Little Things?
It you know, it kind of feeds off to the whole Phil McGraw quote that he was saying, what can I do every day to make my wife smile? So the question that I ask my clients, and this is usually their homework week 1, because it's like, okay, before we can, you know, repair everything, we got to go to the connection piece first, right? So we can't really figure out all these big problems, which I know you want to do, you know, last week, but we need to kind of create connections so that you can even begin to work on those problems.
Yeah.
But is to ask your partner, if I could do 3 little things each day to make you smile, what would they be? And you know, like my husband's are simple, and they can change too. And I've even noticed that once I can master the 3, then we can go up to a medium and then a large. But the 3 little things would be, but love, honey, I love you, and I'm still working on this. So maybe it is medium. Turning off the lights, putting my keys in a place that I can find them, and rubbing his head, like or his back, like scratching his back, because that's, you know, these are things that don't take a ton of time. It just takes an awareness. It takes an effort. And, you know, it's the intention. He still knows I'm struggling because it was, you know, 22 years of a habit of not turning off the lights before I met him, and the cabinet doors that I leave open. It's just a bad habit. But doing those, and then he says to me, you know, what are 3 little things that I could do to make you smile? And men love it. They appreciate it, because then we go into the love languages, which we don't have time for today. But like, let's see, my husband's is physical touch and mine is words. So here I am speaking my language to him, giving him compliments and appreciations, and, you know, really just being verbal. And yet he's wanting to hug more and scratch more, and right. And I'm like a compliment, I'm good. Like, I don't.
Yes.
And he's like, save your compliments, just rub my head. So we want to be able to learn what each other's languages are, but it doesn't take a lot of time. And it really does kind of fill up our cup, and then the energy is undeniable. And it's little things that we say are huge. They make a big difference.
Yes. You're reminding me, I'm thinking of when my husband and I shared what the little things are, and I'm thinking, gosh, I haven't done those little things in quite some time. So this is, and
at least you remember them.
I do. I know that massages are one. And again, it doesn't have to be.
But that's medium. But Joy, I'm glad you said that, because that's medium.
You're right. It's got to be,
because it's got to be something like, you know, a really common one is just, you know, bringing me a cup of coffee in the morning. That is such a small gesture that can be so like meaningful and thoughtful. And what a great way to start the day. You know, so I take it a step up and I bring him a cup of coffee and I scratch his head. It takes me all of 2 or 3 minutes, and he's smiling. He wakes up so happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, what a great way to start our day. And then he compliments me right before I go out the door, and it's like, see.
So you know what I would love? We just have a couple more minutes. And I mean, I don't know if you can see me, but we have people on this. I'm seeing people's names that I know on this. We have people obviously in the UK, but we have people in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in New York, in Switzerland, in France. We have people all over the world on this call. If you want to take a moment, those of you that are on the call, can you write in the comments one little thing that your partner, so Max, I'm kind of talking to you too. So what is one little thing that your partner could do to make you smile each and every day? What would be that one little thing? And I think, and it's interesting because Mary and I are we joke and we say we're kind of like soul sisters because we live on other ends of the earth. But I feel like if we lived in the same place, we'd be like best buddies hanging out. We're like sisters.
I know it.
And my love language, for those of you that aren't familiar with the 5 love languages, you can get that book. It's really, really incredible. It's an incredible book. It's really helpful. And it's a really quick, easy read. So maybe something you could do now. But my love languages, my first one is acts of service, and my second one is affirmation, words of affirmation. And so, you know, doing the tiniest thing when I come down and Max has made my matcha, you know, and it's already there. It's like, oh, you know, and he has been doing a lot of little things, I think, that really makes a difference. When I come downstairs, he has our morning sessions set up for our iGrow sessions, you know, and he
love that.
so it's really, you know, he's really doing that. I'm seeing that a hug. So some people are watching together and they're reminded, Patricia and that's great. And David from our class, Mary, that we did together, they're watching together.
Oh, hi guys.
And something she does for David is saying, I love you every day. So a lot of people, hugs, one little chat. Kenya, Robert's joining us from Kenya. Thank you for joining us again. So Katie's asking, and this is a really common question, what if love languages are both are so different? Yes, that's usually common, is that your love languages are totally different. And what happens is, as Mary was saying, if my love language is acts of service, Max's love language is gifts. So if I'm doing things for him, right, I'm speaking my love language to him, but he's not accepting it, right? Because his love language is different. We have to speak their love language. And it doesn't mean I have to go buy Max presents every day. But, you know, when I pick up a piece of carrot cake for him, you know, that's speaking his love language.
You know, it's funny. I want to add to that.
Mary, my mom is on here, and she says that my dad making her first cup of tea in the morning is really sweet. So we're seeing some washing the dishes. Is washing the dishes a little thing or medium? Would you consider that?
I think it's medium. I honestly, and it could go on the couples meeting as far as figuring out what feels, you know, as far as like the equal contribution, or what, you know, if I cook, you clean, you figure it out. But I have to tell you something about my attitude and how when you make a change, like when you change that shift and how you really, what you focus on will expand. I was feeling for only about a second, because I have so much time on my hands, I'm not feeling the hustle of getting everything done before I leave. But I was, you know, washing the dishes, and I'm like, here I am again, cleaning, you know, it's like monotonous, it's every single day now. And I said, but I really appreciate a clean kitchen. So rather than being annoyed that I'm really the only one that is doing it and that cares, I live with all men and boys, I'm just going to embrace this, and just, it's not about them. This is about me. So I don't need their appreciation. I'm just going to go ahead and appreciate myself. But it changed my attitude, like from, you know, like not having annoyance anymore and just having total acceptance. And then I wanted to piggyback on the hugs comment, because I think that this is a huge game changer. And it's still little, and it only takes 10 seconds. So when you give a hug, so when I have clients, sometimes I'll have, you know, one partner come in before the other partner comes in, just to kind of either say, you know, I can't get my husband to come in, or I can't get my wife to come in. And then I'll say, okay, listen, we'll focus on you, and these tools that you're going to learn can actually maybe even invite her, encourage her to come in. I said, but when you get home, I want you to hug her. But I don't want you to like hug like you normally hug, like the 2-second, you know, going to start, you know, tapping out hug. I want you to hug her for 10 Mississippis. And the feedback that I get is they're like, yeah, it was almost awkward. But then I realized they did go to tap out. They're like, okay. And they're like, no, I'm doing my homework. 7, 8, 9. And so they do this 10-second meaningful hug, and it makes a big difference. So 10 seconds. And you're, you know, especially if it's touch.
They said, I read somewhere recently that they said actually a 20-second hug once a day, 20-second hug once a day can add years onto your life.
I believe it.
How good does that feel?
Well, there's a feeling. And even my 13-year-old, we're hugging. He's like 8, 9, like he won't let go. Like, so we're training him to do it too. So he'll be a great hugger. Here he is.
And, you know, I do want to say, you brought that up earlier, and I just think I want to reiterate how important that what you model as a couple, what you model together for your children, okay, that is what they are going to grow up remembering and experiencing when they get into adult intimate relationships, right? Like we are modeling for them loving relationships. Now is an opportunity to really slow down, take that time to, if you're having challenges, reset your relationship. You're all together. They're watching everything. It's kind of like I was saying in one of the previous episodes about, you can model for your children the fear, the worry, the stress, or you can model how we take challenges and turn them into opportunities and spending that quality time and whatnot. So it's really, a choice. So I hope that those of you that are on the call oh, Jane, you just popped in.
She probably couldn't find it.
And she agreed with me this time. Yay. I think that I hope that you will find something useful from this session. And I had one question on here, and I know we're just out of time. We're at 30 minutes, but there's a question. Any tips for those who are in a relationship but not living together? If there's one, without going into a whole big thing, is there one thing when you think about they're not living, I guess, together right now, you're separated maybe, and that challenge? I mean, Mary, I would say you can do the same things, right? But remotely.
Virtually, but it would also be to ask that person, with our distance. I do have, I've had some clients in the past with long distance. And so they were doing things that they thought, again, like almost like a love language that they thought the other person would appreciate. I said, just ask them, what is it that you can do to create that connection? It might be a gesture. It might be like sending like snail mail love letters. It might be, like, I don't know, like cooking dinner together virtually, it could be something, but, and then just brainstorming a bunch of ideas, because you don't know if it's the first time you're in that situation, especially when you're, kind of encouraged to stay at home and you're not, even having the opportunity to date. So you got to get more creative, and it's challenging. This is new for all of us. So yeah, ask the other person.
I think that's important. And, when we do parent classes and families will always say, I don't have time for family meetings, or, my partner travels. And I always say, you have a laptop, get everyone on Zoom, and, you can do it. So I would say, even if you're apart, do your couples meetings virtually, have some fun time, virtually. You can still apply everything in that way. And I have a friend who, her partner, she's in the UK, and he's separated in the Middle East. They couldn't get together before all of this lockdown happened. And they do cooking classes. She teaches him to cook. They cook together once a week. It's really sweet. So, we have this cooking class. And so find ways, to make that fun. And I just want to share, there are 40 different tools in this deck of tool cards. And the beauty about it is these are available on the iPhone app. So if you can't get them, hard copies. And if you go to the positivediscipline.com website, you can download a PDF of them and the whole workbook that goes like a journal almost. I printed it up, Max and I, we made a whole book out of it. So go get that resource if you want to be able to look at some of the tools, and they have really funny cartoons on them. So I don't want
to say one more thing about these, just because this is a real testimony. So when we were testing these, and Mark and I were the beta testers. In the beginning, he was like, "Oh, you brought your tool cards," here goes our lunch, a free flowing conversation. We got to do these tool cards. Maybe it's a typical male response. Maybe he was like traumatized from many other past, relationship discussions. But at the end, he said, "Mary, these are man proof. Like, I feel closer to you than I've ever felt. It's simple steps. It's 1 through 4, 1 through 5. The spelling it out." He's like, "We're not talking about the past. You're not telling me all the things I've done wrong. We're breaking it down. Men love to fix. Women feel, men fix. So these are man proof." And so every man that has used these in my they're like, "What tool cards you got for us today?" Because they're finding that they're simple, and they're not spending a session of blaming and shaming, and they're like, "Teach us a new card and let's start practicing."
No, I think, and when you were creating these, your mom asked me and Max to pilot them, and we were in the first year of our relationship. So we were in the honeymoon phase, right? Yeah. Everything was good. It was like easy, we had no problem with it. But I remember when we struggled a couple years later, Max was the one to say, we need to go back to those school cards. And it's not
it's my husband that reminds me too.
Yeah, it's not something, I mean, I'm having to go, I'm already thinking, gosh, I got to go back to this and this and this. Maxie, ready? We're going to be, no.
Yeah, right.
I'll give him tonight off. But so listen, Mary, thank you so much for being with us. And I don't know if I mentioned Mary's in California. So she's, you know, she's got her whole day ahead of her. But I know we have some people, it's quite late in some places. And thank you everyone for joining us. Mary, thank you so much for your time. It's just been such a pleasure to have you on, and so informative as always. And for those of you, I'm hoping next week we have a surprise guest. The topic next Tuesday, I hope, will be screens. A lot of people are worried and concerned about screens, and I'm just waiting for confirmation from a great author. So hopefully she'll be able to join us. If not, we'll still have a special guest, and I'll keep you posted on the topic. So thank you so much. Share this if you enjoyed it, and if you can also watch it on the replay at the Positive Discipline UK Facebook page and the Positive Discipline UK YouTube channel. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.